Hello students, let's read the problem. And it says, the slope and y-intercept of the graph of f were changed to make the graph of g as shown below. Which statement describes the changes that were made to the graph of f to make the graph of g? Okay, so we want to find out what changes happen to go from graph f to graph G. So it's very important that you know which one is your starting graph if you want to think about it from that perspective, and which one is the one that you ended up with. Okay, so I'm gonna start with my graph, and that is graph F. So that's the one that I started with. Okay, so I want to know how does it change from F to G, right? So let's start with F. So my graph F, I need to find the slope, and I also need to find the y-intercept. Is that right? Okay, the y-intercept is an easy one, right? Because that means the point when it's crossing the y-axis, and that is at +4, right? So we'll write it down right here. That's my y-intercept, right? What about its slope? Well, remember that to find a slope, I can always do rise over run. So I already have one point here. So let's see if we can find another one. And I can see this is another very nice point. So I can count the rise is 2 and the run is 1. So my slope is 2 over 1. And it is positive, right? Because it's pointing towards the right. So that's my slope and that's my y-intercept. Now let's check on G. So the first thing I need to find, of course, is also the slope and the y-intercept. Okay, so again, the y-intercept is an easy one for all of us because it's the point that is crossing the y-axis, and that is at +1. Okay, what about the slope? Well, I can tell that the slope is going to be negative because the line is pointing towards the left. Is that right? So my slope is going to be negative for sure. Okay, and let's find out another nice point, which I think we can see right there. Can you see the point right there, guys? Okay, so let's do the rise over run. So the rise is 1 up, and then it goes 2 to the left. So that's the reason why my slope is negative, because one of those two is actually a negative, right? So my slope will be 1 over 2. Okay, so let's look at the answer choices. Okay, so we have letter A. Now we're going to compare them, right? It says the slope was multiplied by -2. So let's analyze that. If you multiply the slope by -2, is that going to give me a -1/2? So I'm going to work it out over here, letter A. So my original slope is 2 over 1. And letter A says that it was multiplied by a -2. If that is true, I will need to write down a 1 underneath the denominator, right? And that will give me -4 over 1. And that's my question. Do you see a +4 right here? No, it's actually negative. So letter A cannot be my answer. I'm not even going to check the translation of what happens to the y-intercept because the slope is wrong. Let's go ahead and do letter B now. So letter B says that the slope was multiplied by -1/2. So let's see if that's true. My original slope is 2 over 1. And it says that it was multiplied by -1/2. So let's see if it's true. So I'm going to multiply numerator by numerator. That gives me -2. Denominator by denominator is a +2. And actually that's equals to a +1. Is that the same number that I have highlighted on the right side? No, right? So letter B, it's also wrong. Okay, let's do letter C. Let's see what it says. The slope was multiplied by -1/4. So let's check it out. My original slope again is 2 over 1. And now it says for me to multiply that by -1/4. So remember, you multiply numerator by numerator, denominator by denominator, right? Since one of them is negative, then my answer is negative. And 2 times 1 is 2. And 1 times 4 is 4. I need to simplify, right? I can divide both of them by 2. And negative 2 divided by 2 is a negative 1. And 4 divided by 2, it's a positive 2. I want you to take a look at that number now and tell me if it's the one that you see as the new slope. And the answer is yes, that is correct. Okay, so the first part of it, it's right. Let's check the second part. And it says, and the y-intercept has been translated down 3 units, right? So that's an easy one for us to find because all I gotta do is go back to my graph and count the units that it goes from the green one, which is my original. So let's count. So this is 1, this is 2, and yeah, it actually went 3 down, right? So that means that my answer, or my correct answer, it is answer choice C. We can tell that answer choice D is not a correct answer because it's asking us to multiply the slope by negative 1/2, which is what we just did for answer choice B earlier, remember? And it gave us a positive 1. So that's how I know that no, D would not work either. So the answer, it is C.